Hello everyone, this is Sam and this is Car Legion. Welcome back to another video. For today's video, we have another comparison. This is our first time comparing three cars at the same time. The one on the far left is the Toyota Highlander, the 2019. The one in the middle is the Hyundai Palisade with the ultimate package. And the one over here is the 2019 Toyota 4Runner with the night shade package. All these three vehicles offer great features. They of course offer similar space, and at the same time they're within the same range when it comes to price. For today's video, we're going to explore all three vehicles. We'll find out what they offer in terms of the exterior features, of course, interior technology, quality rides, and of course the space, the overall in the cabin, and of course we're going to test out the third row seats as well. We're also going to take them all three for a test drive. Of course, we're going to find out how fast they are. We have the beautiful tool that I use through my phone. You can test out 0 to 100, and of course we're going to test out the braking performance as well through the same app, 100 to 0 kilometers. How long does it take to brake? Before we get to that, we're going to explore exactly what all these three vehicles offer in terms of technology, interior quality, of course the features that they come with, and of course we're going to talk about the engines they all offer and the packages that all three offer. For today's video, the 4Runner is the limited with the nightshade package. Meanwhile, the Palisade over here has the ultimate package. And on my right side, the Highlander is just the limited. You can also purchase the nightshade package, which costs about $2,500 Canadian, and then you basically get more features with that. But as far as the 4Runner, that's fully loaded. Now, let's talk about prices. The Toyota Highlander with the limited package starts at $52,000. Meanwhile, the Palisade with the ultimate package in Canada starts at $54,000. And of course, the 4Runner here that has the nightshade option starts at $55,000. If you want to know more about all these packages, everything will be in the description box with all the details for each package and what do you get with these options. The 2019 Highlander Limited all-wheel drive comes with a 295 horsepower, 3.5-liter, 6-cylinder direct injection engine and an 8-speed automatic transmission. You can also pick the Hybrid XLE, 306 brake horsepower, hybrid synergy drive system and continuously variable transmission. Meanwhile, the 4Runner comes with a 4-liter V6 engine and one-touch 4-wheel drive system, making 270 horsepower and a 5-speed automatic transmission. The 2020 Palisade shares much with its corporate twin, the Kia Telluride, including its powertrain. Power comes only from a 3.8-liter V6 engine with an 8-speed automatic transmission with a 291 horsepower routed to the front wheels as a standard, and of course the all-wheel drive system optional on all trim levels. Before we get into details, let's talk about shape and design, of course. Let's start first with the Toyota 4Runner at the end. That vehicle specifically looks like a vehicle that you can use for day-to-day and at the same time take it off-road. All three vehicles offer off-road packages, of course. The Palisade over here offers 7 driving modes. On the other hand, of course, the same thing with the Highlander, but not at the same range as the Palisade. On the other side, on the left one, is the Toyota 4Runner, which basically can be taken anywhere, and of course it offers the driving modes. At the same time, it has great suspension system for off-road as well, and braking performance. Of course, the 4Runner offers 4 pistons in the front, and over here the Highlander and of course the Palisade have only 1 piston each for the front, and of course for the same thing on the rear side. We'll be testing them out once we take them on the road to find out which ones offer the best braking performance. Let's start with the exterior, and specifically the front end. The Palisade over here and of course the Highlander over there offer 360 camera view. Therefore, you get the cameras in the front and at the same time around the mirrors. When it comes to actual headlights, all three of them offer the LED headlights, with the exception to the, of course, the 4Runner that doesn't offer the LED turning signal. They're just standard. And while on this side we have, of course, LED turning signals. The 4Runner and the Highlander offer fog lights at the bottom, as you can see. Meanwhile, the Palisade doesn't. But the Palisade on one side, to be fair, does have sort of like a fog light at the bottom within the same headlight, as you can see, because it's split in half. Now let's move on to the side for all three vehicles. First of all, let's start with the 4Runner. 4Runner, of course, offers the power mirrors and, of course, keyless entry. Lock the vehicle and unlock it. The same thing with the Palisade, power mirrors, of course, keyless entry, and the same thing with the Highlander as well. The only difference with the 4Runner is that you don't have those cameras located underneath the mirrors, since this doesn't come with the 360 camera, unlike the Highlander. Now, before we move into more details, let's talk about the key fobs, because even those are very important to mention. Now, the 4Runner has only a basic key fob. You can lock the vehicle and unlock it, and of course you got the siren to locate the vehicle. Meanwhile, the Palisade has a few more features. You have a remote start, you have, of course, for the tailgate as well, and to lock and unlock the vehicle, and of course the siren as well. The same thing with the Highlander. The only difference with the Highlander, you don't have a remote start with this package that we are offered for today's video. Well, let's move on to the rear side. Let's start first with the 4Runner. Unfortunately, the 4Runner doesn't have a power liftgate. It only offers standard manually. You have to open it manually. Meanwhile, the Palisade, of course, offers the power liftgate with a couple of options that you can open it up. First, you can open it through standing behind the vehicle. Takes a couple of seconds and it opens up. Meanwhile, the Highlander on this side will only open up with the button located around the license plates to actually open the tailgates. It doesn't have any active foot release option, or even the same option as the Palisade. You can also open it through the key fob as well. Now let's see which one will open faster, which tailgate. As far as the 4Runner, of course, is manual, so there's nothing we can do about it, but we're gonna test out the Palisade and of course the Highlander. And of course, we're gonna do a test through the remote control, not manually because I'm actually just one person. So here we go. So both vehicles, of course, you have to hold it. So we're gonna do it at the same time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the Palisade clearly is the winner. I pressed them at the same time and I'm not far from the vehicles, to be fair. Now let's try to close them at the same time. 1, 2, 3. And again, the Palisade is the winner. Next, we'll move on to trunk space. Now keep in mind that all three vehicles offer 3-row seats, with the option to fold the 3rd row seat so you can get more space. So we're gonna test them out, and first we're gonna start with the 4Runner, move on to the Palisade, and of course next will be the Highlander. We will test them out with the 3rd row seat up. Now let's start, of course, with the 4Runner, and as I said, we don't have a power lift gate, so you have to manually open it. Unfortunately, with the seat up, the 4Runner doesn't have much space. Let's try with 1. So you don't have much space with the seat up. Now let's try to fold them. Here we go. There we go. That's 1. As you can see, with a 3rd row seater, you have some space to actually use all 4 of them. You still have a little bit more space in here to use, of course, but as far as the height of it, that's all you get. With the 3rd row seats, you don't get much on it. So if you don't want to use the 3rd row seat, then you get tons of space in here. Next will be the Palisade. So let's try how many we'll take in. That's 1. That's 2. I highly doubt it, but let's see.
maybe it will close. So we got 4 of them inside. Now let's try to close it. I highly doubt it. Nope. Okay, let's try one more time. Let's try. Yeah, so it won't be able to take 4. Now let's try with 2. Let's push them all the way. Okay, let's try to close it. Maybe we'll be able to take 2. Nope, not even 2. Okay, so maybe 1. Let's try with 1. So that's 63 liters on 1. Okay, so it did take 1. You also have space on the side of the storage box. As you can see, you got some more space in there. And of course, on this side as well. Now, if we tried this way, it would be way too long, so it wouldn't be able to fit anything. Now, if we actually folded the seats, and of course this one has 3rd row seats are automatic, so you can fold them with the butts located onto the left. Automatically, you just press them once. Meanwhile, the 4Runner does not have that option. You have to do it manually. And you also get that signal that tells you they're already folded. There we go. Okay, so you can see you have 4 of them. So we have 4 of them inside, and you still got more space at the top. So if I try to actually put this right over here at the top and push it a little bit further up, so you can fit another 4 of them, each one holding 63 liters. Okay, next we're gonna try it on the Highlander. So let's open this. Oh, wind is blowing. There we go. So in here, we have the 3rd row seat up, of course, and in here, in order to fold those seats, you have to actually manually fold it. So you have this lever located onto the thing here, this rope, you pull it and you fold them. Same thing for the headrest as well. Now let's try to fit these things inside. Okay, you have 1 and we have 2. So I think this way they will fit and you can close it easily. Now let's try with all 4 in the same position. This seems tight. Okay, so you can only do 3 possibly. Now let's try to close it. I highly doubt it, but wow, it closed. So you can actually fit 3 in here. Not the same as the Palisade. You can actually fit 3 in here. Perfect. To fold them, you have this thing over here, pull it and then push it down. And for the headrest, you have the button located onto the headrest onto the side. You press the button and then you close the headrest completely. And then now we're going to have basically a full space on the rear side without the 3rd row seat. So let's try this. We got 1. Okay, this is going to be tough. Let's try this way first. Okay, so you have some space now onto this side. And then if you want it, you can do this. The problem with this though, unlike the Palisade, you wouldn't be able to close this with the actual storage box located on top of this one. So you have to actually put it over here. Now you got some space. So you can fit 4 of them, each one at 63 liters. The problem is that you don't have enough space for more on top in the front, only over there. But you can still fit some more. It feels like the Palisade does have a bit more space on the rear side, even with a 3rd row seat. Now let's close this. Have you ever wondered how hot your seats get during summertime? This is why I brought this in. So we are going to test out how hot the seats are at the moment, sitting under the sun for about 2 hours. All 3 of them. Both 2 Toyotas come with the black leather interior. So the black absorbs the heat much faster and of course much longer than what we have on the Palisade, which is not the same color. First we're going to test the current temperature, then we'll turn on the cooling seat option and find out how long does it take to actually cool the seats over here. And of course we're going to use the passenger side. First, let's find out the temperature for this seat over here. You just point at it and it will tell you exactly the seat's temperature. And of course I have it in Celsius and it is 39.3 Celsius. So here shows 37 degrees, 38. Okay, so we have 38 over here.
Next is the cooling seats test. Which one cools the seats faster? Now, this test, to be fair, is not 100% accurate. You'd have to have them in a special location. But I wanted to test out on a day-to-day use to find out which one takes less time to cool or which one takes more time. Now, to be fair to the Highlander and, of course, the 4Runner, they have black leather seats, which, of course, take time to cool down compared to the Palisade. Okay, so let's get into technology. First of all, I'll just make it clear at the beginning, the Palisade, it is a 2020 model, therefore it does have a few more features compared to the Highlander and of course the 4Runner, so we have to be fair when it comes to technology comparisons. Now, when the 2020 model Highlander comes in, we'll do a comparison against the Palisade and find out the differences. But for what we have at the moment in the market, this is what basically is offered for both these two vehicles from Toyota. So let's start with some tech. First of all, the Android Auto and Apple CarPlay is not offered on the Toyota 4Runner and of course on the Highlander. You can only get the Bluetooth connectivity. You have no Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. Meanwhile, the Palisade, of course, does offer that. Second, you do get a digital cluster on the Palisade with extra options such as the camera view for the turning signal, something that you don't get, of course, on the 4Runner and the Highlander. Both these vehicles have simple analog screens with a small digital screen in the middle that shows you some information. Another feature on the Palisade, of course, is a beautiful massive screen that you can basically adjust and use for different modes, and you can change the modes of the vehicle. You have 7 driving modes from drive and terrain as well. Meanwhile, the Highlander and of course the 4Runner do have some driving modes, but not as extensive as of course the Palisade. At the same time, the Palisade, the 4Runner, and of course the Highlander offer backup cameras, with the exception of the Highlander and the Palisade that do offer, of course, a 360 camera. Meanwhile, the Highlander has a 360 camera, but it's more so a bird's eye view, basically seeing the vehicle from the top and giving you an idea of the objects around the vehicle. As far as the screens in the infotainment system, the 4Runner has the smaller screen out of the 3 of them. As far as the screen in the center, the 4Runner has the smallest screen in the infotainment system compared to the other 2, the Palisade and of course the Highlander. They're all 3 touchscreen, of course, with a few options on the Highlander and the 4Runner. Meanwhile, the Palisade does offer quite a lot of features. When it comes to the driving modes, the Palisade, of course, is the winner, and at the same time, it does offer the paddle shifters on the steering wheel, something you don't get, of course, the 4Runner and the Highlander. Now, the 4Runner does offer the actual rear windshield, which you can lower and open it completely, something you don't get on the Highlander or even the Palisade. Now, as far as other technology, of course, again, the Palisade is the clear winner, does have a few more options when it comes to the actual infotainment system compared to, of course, the Highlander. The Palisade gives you the option to use the quiet mode, which basically plays the music onto the front speakers, not on the rear side, and of course it offers you the driver talk, similar to the Highlander. Highlander has similar option where basically you don't have to raise the voice to actually talk to the people on the rear side. Now, as far as the Highlander, being a 2019 model, does offer cool features as well, including the maintenance schedule as well, which shows you when you need to bring the vehicle for maintenance for each part on the vehicle, so it gives you a reminder. Meanwhile, the Palisade does offer extra features, but nothing similar to this one specifically. Now, let's move on and check out the third row seat and, of course, the second row seat, find out what they all 3 offer.
Okay, let's start with the second row seats. see inside how comfortable it is and what we have in here. First of all, we have no climate control in there. Everything is in the front. Of course, we got a center seats in here and the armrest. These are not captain chair, the same as you'd find in the Palisade. In the center, you got an armrest. Unfortunately, I can't remove this plastic because we want to leave it for the owner, but you do get two cup holders in there, of course. And at the same time, you got beautiful leather seats. As far as space, I'm very close to the roof a little bit, but here's what they have done. They have kind of given more space onto this side and pushed it a little bit further up to give more head space for the people in the back. Now, let's try to get in on the third row seat. And this is manually to fold it, of course, and then push it all the way. Now, let me see if I can get in easily. One, okay. And here we go. You can push the seat a little bit further. It's not as comfortable. I'm a bit cramped in here. For my height, I'm 6'2", so I feel just a little bit cramped. It's not very comfortable for my height. This is mostly supposed to be used for kids. I don't think you can have adults here unless they're under 5 feet that they can fit in here. Otherwise, it's pretty rough. The beautiful thing is that you can hide the seats under. It has the seats over here that you can hide inside. The recliner stays up, of course, and you can move the recliner on this part over here. You can have it pushed a little bit further back and to give you a little bit more space. Right now we have almost no space on the rear side. So when it comes to space on the rear side here for the 4Runner, not the greatest. Okay, onto the Palisade, of course. A little bit more room over here. The vehicle, the Palisade, it's a bit bigger than the 4Runner. The overall cabin space, it is a bit bigger than the 4Runner. The 4Runner, it's a bit more boxy, and they've tried to squeeze in a third row. And while here, you feel a lot more comfortable, more family driven. You can get a lot of space in here, and at the same time, you got beautiful heated seats and cooling seats in here that you don't get on the 4Runner. The other important thing is that you have the climate control located on the rear side. You have a roof over here and one in the front. You can only open it manually. The sunshade, not the sunroof. The sunshade, you can move it manually. In here, it's automatic. Both sunroofs are powered, but this one, you can't open it. Only that one. So the only powered thing here is the sunshade. Now, as far as air vents, we got some air vents here, light here, similar to the 4Runner, but in here we have two captain chairs, which makes it very easy to get in and get out. And of course, you get more space on the rear side for family, for adults. Like my size, you can easily fit in the back. Okay, in order to actually fold the seats, there's a button at the top here. You fold it, automatically folds. Some leg room in here. Now keep in mind that this doesn't come with the 3 seats in the front. It comes only with the 2 captain seats, so you do get more space. But when it comes to the height, when it comes to how comfortable you are, and of course the space on the rear side, kind of tight in here. As you can see, my head is actually touching the ceiling on the side. You can move the seats, you can move the recliner a little bit further back. So you can do the same thing for the other side as well. You have the switches located onto the left and right, and of course you got 2 USB ports in here and cup holders as well. Okay, onto the Highlander. Similar to the Palisade, you have 2 captain chair in here. Lots of space in the center. As far as space over here, very comfortable. We have an air vent. At the same time, the door handle in there. You also have a sunshade similar to the Palisade, something that you don't find in the 4Runner. It's pretty nice. You have it all the way across, similar, of course, to the Palisade. You have the climate control in here, and of course you have heated seats and cooling seats for the rear side, similar to the Palisade. You have 2 USB ports located at the bottom, and of course you have the 120 volts as well that you can charge your phone or your computer, anything that can support that type of voltage. As far as space in here, very nice, very comfortable. You can also move this seat back and forth. Unfortunately, the seat in here are only manual, but you can adjust the recliner back and forth. You also get a beautiful moonroof across, and unlike the Palisade, which is split in half, this is fully all the way, and you can open the sunshade, of course. Now, let's try to get in on the third row seat, how easy it is to fit in. First of all, you have to do this manually. You have a lever located onto the right side, you pull it, and then you just move it forward. Now, let's try in here. Okay, not bad so far. Okay, you can move the seat in front of you. You can move the seat in front of you to give you more space. So it's very comfortable. We have 2 cup holders on this side. Unfortunately, you don't have any USB ports for the rear side. I don't see any USB ports around here, unlike the Palisade that has for the third row seat. As you can see, my head is touching the roof, so not very good when it comes to the space compared to the Palisade on the third row seat. But as far as the actual leg room over here, it's very comfortable, very easy. You can also adjust the rear. You can also adjust your recliner by pulling this lever at the top, and that's it. Now you have a little bit more space, but that way you lose more space in the trunk.
Next will be the noise cabin test. They're all performed in the same area around the same time. And first is the Highlander at 61.9 dBA. And then next will be of course, the Hyundai Palisade at 62.2 dBA. Meanwhile, the 4Runner was at 63.5. Now, let's do the speed test, find out which one is the fastest. Starting with the 4Runner, 0 to 100 in 13.39 seconds. Meanwhile, the 100 to 0 brake test, 24.79 seconds. The Highlander comes at 0 to 100 in 9.37 seconds, and 100 to 0, 13.70 seconds. Meanwhile, the Palisade, we're looking at a bit faster, 0 to 100 in 8.78 seconds, which is faster than, of course, the other two. Meanwhile, 100 to 0 in 23.27 seconds. Now let's talk about the ride quality. We'll start first, of course, with the Hyundai Palisade. The Palisade and the Highlander are very similar on ride quality. The only one that makes a difference is the Toyota 4Runner, of course, with the stiffer suspension because the way it's designed and engineered for off-road. It's not unbearable, but it is stiffer compared to the two of them. When it comes to leg room inside, all three vehicles offer similar space for the front passenger and, of course, the driver. Meanwhile, when it comes to long trips, of course, the Palisade, it's a bit more comfortable, more wider on the rear end. Meanwhile, the Highlander is similar to the Palisade with the exception to the 4Runner, which is a little bit tighter compared to the other two. Anyways, that was it for today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, and of course follow me on Instagram.